For the fourth video, I'd like you to take some time to attempt to practice what we just learned in videos 1 through 3 on your own. So if you would, pause this video now and click on the STEM worksheet and try to do these 5 steps. Use the trim function, remove the underscore, classify, create a column of funding is either greater than 50% or less than or equal to, create a 3-part classification for the year, and use an if and function to put either growing or not growing for if both of those conditions are met. So pause now and then come back and press play again to see me do the results. Okay, welcome back, and hopefully you had an opportunity to successfully do all these different steps in the STEM worksheet. So I'm going to use the trim function. I should have mentioned, I don't know if the trim function removes any extraneous spaces. I don't know if this column actually had any, so I'm actually going to put some in here. So I'm hitting the space bar a bunch of times to add spaces to the rightmost part of the first entry. And let me resize the column. It shows that it's extra wide to accommodate these big spaces. So I'm going to insert a new column, a new and improved one that gets rid of that garbage to the right. So I'm going to type equals trim, not trim, and select column cell C2, double click to autocomplete, and resize, and now it has removed those excess spaces from that cell and any others that happen to be in that column. Now if we wanted to keep this new and improved, I could do a copy and a paste special and paste values in order to retain just the values that I created with the trim function. Then I could delete the original column and the intermediate one that had the trim function, and then I just have data without any formulas. That allows me to be able to move this data around to other worksheets or copy and paste it and not have the trim function potentially be corrupted. Okay, so part 2, I wanted to remove the underscore from the index. So I'm going to select that and go to replace, and I'm going to replace underscore with just nothing, and I'll replace all. If I wanted to replace it with a space, I'd have to hit the space bar and it would have put PRG space 001, but it makes more sense for this index number to be all one consecutive term. Now I want to do a basic if statement to classify FY 2010 as either greater than or equal to greater than 50% or greater than or less than or equal to. So put my heading out there, and I'm going to have an if statement. If the value is less than 0.5, then I'm going to put a quote. Less than 50%. If that's false, then it must be greater than or equal to. So I'll put greater than or equal to 50%. Notice that I had to put 0.5. I could have put 50% as well. And here's a couple examples. I'm eyeballing it to test it, and it looks like it's working fine. I'll use my format painter. Okay, for our next step, I want to create a nested if to do 3 different. So pre-1980, 1980 to 2000, and after 2000. There's different ways to do that. You can either use greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to, or less than as needed. So I'm going to enter a column to put year range, and if, equals if C2 is less than 1980, then I want pre-1980 to show up. If that's false, then I need another if. And now I'm going to look at whether C2 is less than 2000. Less than or equal to 2000. And if that's true, then it's going to say 1980 to 2000. And if both of those are false, then I want post 2000. And it gave me an error, so I have to see what's going on here. I think I closed my parentheses too quickly. And again, you should look back and see an example. We had one that we Googled and one in the last previous video. So I want to check it again against the instructions. They had pre-1980, 1980 to 2000, and after 2000. So 2002 is after 2000. Here's one that's in between. In between. Let's see if there's one that I could change one of the values to 1977, pre-1980. Be exactly 1980, and it's in the range. 2000 is still in the range because it's got to be post 2000. Okay, so that seems to be working. Our next one, we want to see if funding is growing each year, so more in 2010 than in 2009, and it's greater in 2008 than in 2009, or 2009 than 2008. So I'll create a new column here called growing. And I want an if and then I want to test 2 conditions. So if funding in 2010 is greater than funding in 2009, that's the first condition. The second condition is funding in 2009 greater than funding in 2008. So if both of those conditions are met, I want to give it the phrase growing. If either of those conditions are not met, I'm going to put not growing. And again, I'll use my format painter. Autocomplete. So I've got a combination here. So in this one, 9 is bigger than 10, or 10 is bigger than 9, and 9 is bigger than 8. For all these others, in this one, 10 was bigger than 9, but 9 was not bigger than 8. So again, it looks like it's working fine, and I've successfully completed part 1 of this week's tutorials.